Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Good morning, my renegades. Welcome back to Rogue Radio. My name is Sarah Jane, and today is Renegade Times episode. I'm going to try my best to do this like every week from now on, since I have like maybe 2 days a week off, because I work in stocking and then I work as a recovery coach on the weekends. So, yeah. Some fun shit. Anyway, y'all don't care about that. You just want content. That's right. Okay, well, jump into the I need coffee to fucking think today. Okay. What's my tagline again? Jump into the trenches with me. Let's go. Oh, I almost forgot. Let's see. And I forgot again. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to contact me down in the description below. I have YouTube, Instagram, all that lovely stuff, and I also have merch that will make you look fucking sexy this summer. So, if you want to look fucking gorgeous, go ahead to my store on spring.com and get yourself some beautiful merch. Alright? Okay. Let's play this beautiful introduction industrial music so I can wake up. Maybe you need to wake up too. Let's just go ahead and play it.
Welcome back to Renegade Times. Shit's about to get real. This is where listening goes off the grid. Let's get into some trouble.
Alright, where's that dirty rag of politics? I need to wipe my tank with it. Alright, let's just go. I am in a rare mood today. I'm so sorry. I'll probably perk up later on, okay? Jesus Christ. It's too early for me to get all crazy, but here we go. Oregon Dean of Students promotes LGBTQ emergency fund sex toy shop to students. You know, in my old high school, they had this thing, I think it was called the Cougar Shop, because, you know, because my high school was called the Cougars. That was our mascot, was the cougar. You know, like a wild cat. I don't know. Anyway, and you could get your vocabulary books, you could get your workbooks, you could, you know, buy your books, which kind of like prepared us for buying books for college at the time. So, we would have that shop there. And it was very small, and it was just, you know, easy access to whatever you really wanted. Like, they had gum because they let seniors, or they actually let high schoolers have gum at the time because they trusted us a little bit more. But, you know, they had things that we needed, you know. How is it an emergency to masturbate? Tell me how that happens. Okay? Because usually, I'm sorry, I'm an open book today, so if you guys get triggered by the word masturbate, I'm so sorry. Or jacking off, or other things that I might say that will pertain to the word of masturbation. I'm not sorry. This is the story, so if you don't like it, you can turn it off. Anyway, no, how is it a fucking emergency to go ahead and need a sex toy during class? Is everyone in this new generation that anxious to where they have to masturbate in class? Because you know that's gonna fucking happen. Excuse me. You know that's going to fucking happen. It's going to happen. Some kid's gonna accidentally make a fucking noise during a lecture, and the teacher's gonna be like, what the fuck are you doing? And they're probably gonna be like, well, I have a dick up my ass. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I'm feeling anxious. This is ridiculous. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. This is fucking ridiculous. The University of Oregon is offering an emergency fund for trans-identified students to attain gender-affirming resources, including sex toys and trans vocal lessons. To be honest, trans vocal lessons is a little bit more understandable to catering to somebody who wants to be the other sex. I don't agree with it, but if that's what you want to be, I don't have a problem with it. I do have a problem with you wanting a sex toy during class and want to use it willy-nilly, you know? Because they're definitely not going to cater to straight students who want a dildo, right? I mean, what the fuck? This is stupid. This is fucking stupid. Anyway, the university allows LGBTQ students to request financial assistance to cover transgender treatments, support, and resources under the Gender Affirming Support Fund. Okay, if you're a certain age, like not a teen, okay, and you want to go ahead and transition to a woman or a man or whatever you believe that you are, okay, that's fine, go ahead and do that. I do have a problem, okay? There are a lot of gray areas to the problems that I have when it comes to transgenderism, and I'm sorry for that, okay? Part of me is also just trying to understand why anybody would want to change their sex, and also trying to figure out what I'm really for and what I'm not when it comes to transgenderism, okay? Because I understand that there is a bit of a psychology thing between, or when it comes to transgenderism, when it comes to someone who is transgender, there is something psychological going on, because there could be trauma, there could be past abuse that they are unable to cope with, and transitioning is a way of escape sometimes. Sometimes, not all the time, alright? But, so I do have a certain understanding, whether it may be a small amount of understanding, when it comes to somebody who is transgender. Alright. If you have past trauma and that's the way you're dealing with it, I care about you, bro. I do. I don't know, so just don't think I don't care about people who are transgender, but when it comes to the government and when it comes to things being political about this, it can be fucking ridiculous. Like, why are you opening a sex shop inside a university that is solely supposed to be about education? Huh? Anyways, let us go. Let's see here. Students to request financial assistance to cover transgender treatment support and resources under the Gender Affirming Support Fund. The form is processed through the Office of the Dean of Students in coordination with the Financial Aid Office. The application describes the fund as an opportunity for the LGBTQIA students at the University of Oregon to request emergency funding one time during the academic year to pay for items that impact their sexuality or gender identity. The fund cannot be used to pay for textbooks, tuition, or university fees. Wouldn't that be the most sensible way of doing it, though? Y'all need to pay for your books. Why can't that be stretched to your textbooks and the workbooks that you need? That doesn't sound like the college is wanting to educate the transgender people in the university. They just want to fuck around and be like, oh, it's okay to be you, so go ahead and transition and all this other stuff. You know, have a dildo. It's like saying, we're here for you, but we're not here for you. Like, we're here for you on the surface, but we're not going to help you get tuition. I mean, that should anger some people, to be honest. I mean, I believe that anybody should, honestly, if you want my opinion on education, think every person, every university should have free education for students. That's just me, because if Finland can do it, where they pay their students to actually go to university to afford things and stuff like that, I feel like the United States should do that as well. That's just my opinion. So, why is it so hard to give tuition to people who are transgender instead of giving them gender-affirming supplies such as dildos and things like that? Like, what the fuck? The fund cannot be used to pay for textbooks, tuitions, or university fees. Instead, the application points students to a different form. In the application form, students must present their gender identity, the anticipated cost per item, and their circumstances prompting them to apply. So they have to basically apply for this certain, like, sex toy thing. Okay, understandable. But, I don't know, I've met some very sensible people who are transgender. Why would they want this instead of a good education and tuition that could pay for their education and their textbooks? You know. The Gender Affirming Support Fund, but one of the LGBTQ resources at University of Oregon Dean of Students Marcus Langford's website promotes. The website advertises as you like it, an eco-conscious, green, gender-inclusive sex toy shop in Eugene, Oregon. Jesus Christ. It had to be in Eugene, Oregon. You know, if I haven't heard from a politician in a long time that hasn't come up in the news, I find news. And apparently, Kamala Harris, the czar of the border, decided to go ahead and spend millions to push green energy transition in the Caribbean. So, let's just get into that. Is she gaining weight? Yikes. Okay, well, the U.S. is planning to spend millions of taxpayer dollars to push renewable energy transition in the Caribbean, according to the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. Okay. The announcement came from Vice President Kamala Harris during a trip to the Bahamas, where Harris announced a planned total in aid to the region, including $20 million for transitioning to renewable energy and addressing climate change impacts in the Caribbean. To support the region's transition to renewable energy and increase energy efficiency, marking with Congress and subject to the availability of funds. The USAID, I'm just going to call it USAID. USAID intends to provide $20 million in funding to companies with financial and technical assistance and businesses development services through the Caribbean Climate Investment Program. I don't know how the fuck any Democrat politician thinks. I don't know how they think that spending $20 million on climate change and energy resources is going to change the climate. Mother Nature is going to do whatever the fuck she wants. There's no way of changing that. The nature around us will react to anything no matter what we do. Okay? No matter how much we recycle, no matter how much we try to, live a cleaner life and shrink our carbon footprint or whatever the fuck they have told you, it's all bullshit. All right? So we're spending $20 million on nonsense. The government is spending $20 million down in the Caribbean on absolute nonsense. That money could have gone back to us. We pay taxes. Prices are going up. Inflation is sky high. There's plenty of people who work 2 to 3 jobs just in order to pay rent now. And it is a terrible environment right now for people. And the government has decided to go ahead and pay $20 million for nonsense. It's nonsense. It's stupid. Have we ever seen any type of benefit? Have we ever seen the reaped benefits of what they've sown into global warming, climate change, all this other shit? We haven't, have we? We're not going to. They want to spend money on nonsense to make us angry. I'm plenty angry. If anything, if there is some thread of nonsense in this global warming and, helping to, help people who are suffering in like terrible climate changing areas, why aren't you spending $20 million in New York where there's thick clouds of smoke that people are breathing in? It is highly toxic. People have to wear masks again over there because of the toxicity in the air. The fires from Canada have swept down to New York, and New York is engulfed in smoke. Now, do I believe that's climate change? Technically, yes, but I also believe that's more of an act of God than a climate change sort of thing. I could be wrong. I'm not an expert on politics. This is how I understand things, and I am very much open to correction. All right? But why aren't you spending money in your own territory? Why aren't you spending money to help those who are suffering in New York? You don't want to. Because you think, oh, well, the Caribbean's pretty. I'll, put in like $20 million to, update everything for them. Bitch. Go do something meaningful with your life. You're actually pleased with yourself with doing fucking nothing. With $20 million to spend, and you go ahead and throw it at the Caribbean where you should be investing it in New York, where people are probably having some respiratory issues at the moment. Alright? That's all I'm saying. I mean, check your priorities, bitch. The initiative also will also form the Blue-Green Investment Corporation, which will work with Barbados, the Green Climate Fund, and private sector entities to form a green bank. The purpose of the bank will be able to finance projects such as climate resilient housing, renewable energy, clean transportation, and water conservation, firstly in Barbados, and later expanding to other Caribbean countries. You know, it's insane. It's insane. We didn't get that in East Palestine. We didn't get, what was it? Renewable energy or clean transportation or water conservation. We didn't get any of that shit in East Palestine, Ohio. They're still suffering there. Even the governor was like, oh, it's safe. Have you seen the waterways, asshole? Have you seen the streams? Have you seen the rivers? It's multicolored. That's not normal. Have you seen the skies right now in New York? A friend of mine actually had to advise me, like, there's some shit going down in New York. And you know what? I'm pissed now. I'm pissed about it. This should not be happening. What are you going to do about the air quality there? I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, there has to be something. If you guys want to talk about climate change and, you know, bettering the environment, it's sure not helping when you're ignoring the actual people that are suffering right now, that need it the most, if it even works. An additional $1.5 million will be committed to Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, an informational and policy advisory group located in Belize. Oh, that's fun. Oh my god. I want to stretch a big congratulations to Ben Shapiro and his wife. They had just had baby number 4. And I'm very, very happy for you guys. I speak life, love, and health over you and your 4 children. It's just beautiful stuff. Anyway, let me find this lovely piece of news that I accidentally closed out. Where is it? Here it is. Ben Shapiro challenges Biden administration to read from sexually explicit book found in school libraries. So, if you guys have been living under a rock, or you're like me and you just refuse to look at social media sometimes, and then you get out of the loop way too much, like you're just way out of the loop, there are some sexually explicit books in school libraries, in children's libraries, all over the country. A lot of them talk about sexuality, touching themselves, masturbation, and one of them actually did talk about, if you see a stranger, go ahead and say hello. No. I was told never to talk to strangers when I was a kid. And I still uphold that rule. Like, I'm not gonna talk to strangers, especially in real life. Like, you come up to me, I'm gonna be like, okay, no, bye. No, I don't know you. Unless that person's being introduced to me by another person I know. Hey, cool, hi. But I don't talk to strangers. The fuck? Daily Editor Emeritus Ben Shapiro challenged a member of the Biden administration to publicly read from the sexually explicit book found in school libraries across the country, as the administration appoints the coordinator to challenge so-called book bans. Shapiro said that someone from Biden's team should publicly read the book Genderqueer by Maya Kobabe? I don't know. If they think that it is appropriate for young children. The book contains graphic descriptions of masturbation and oral sex, alongside explicit illustrations. I challenge somebody from the Biden administration to get up and read out loud on camera and explain why that should be available to 9-year-olds or 15-year-olds, for that matter, or at public expense, Shapiro, co-founder of the Daily Wire, said in his Friday podcast. I thought he was the founder. Okay, Shapiro's challenge comes as the Biden administration announced that it would be creating a position in the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights to fight against local and state laws intended to shield children from graphic books like Genderqueer in schools. The scene in Genderqueer found in school libraries across the country involves a teenager having sexual fantasy about an adult male. What Biden really wants is for your local second grader to be able to walk into school libraries and see graphic cartoon depictions of anal sex. Yeah, it's funny. Ever since Biden got into office, he has made promises that he has never kept. And this here is a promise that he hasn't kept. Like, he made a whole department, like, hey, we gotta make sure that these things don't get put into libraries. Whoops, genderqueer. That's really what Joe Biden wants. I noticed that everybody on the left who constantly talks about these book bannings is unwilling to actually read out loud the books that they think should not be prevented from being disseminated, Shapiro said. The Daily Wire host added that Biden was only pretending to care about free speech, pointing to how he left has pursued book bans for other books that did not contain sexually explicit content. He also pointed out that the measures being taken to shield children from explicit content didn't really qualify as a book ban, pointing out that most parents and advocates were just restricting what content school children had access to. In recent years, parents have shown up to school board meetings across the country to read from sexually explicit books available to their children, prompting local and state governments to approve measures giving parents more oversight of the materials available to their children. Yeah, they are slowly trying to take away the power that a parent has over their child. Because, what's that one scripture in the Bible that says, a child left to himself brings his parents to ruin? Yeah. They're basically trying to isolate children from their parents to where they can make their own decisions, and it'll bring embarrassment and humiliation upon the parents, and there will be fingers pointed at those parents saying you're a bad parent because of how this child has, ended up. But in truth, the government is taking away the power of the parent. And I don't believe that should ever be happening. It should not happen. Children should always seek guidance from their parents, whether they disagree or agree with whatever they identify as. Listen, I understand that there are some highly religious parents out there that do hate their kids. I'm not going to sit here and say that is not a thing. It is most definitely a thing. But I will say that no, we can't choose our parents, especially when you're a child who identifies as someone else or as some other gender. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm not going to say all parents are good. I think everybody knows that some parents are abusive, verbally, mentally, spiritually, physically, all of that. I'm saying that the good upstanding parents that want only the good for their children, by not allowing them to transition at 15 years old, should still have the power over their kids. Should be able to say no, should still be able to have that authority over their kids. Now, for those kids who are in the LGBTQ community who want to transition, I would highly advise you to look into what goes on in the operating room. This is not a legitimate professional practice. It is highly experimental, and there have been people who have died from infections, people who still are suffering from infections because they chose to transition. Okay, period. So, to me, hearing all the horror stories that happen in operation rooms when it comes to people who are transition, I know I veered off the topic, I'm sorry, I'm just saying. Your parents love you, and the reason why they say no is because they want your safety. They still want you to be safe. There's a reason why there's an age of consent and all of that stuff. Now, for the highly religious parents, I would just say love your kid through it. For the highly religious parents who hate your kids, fuck you. Okay? Fuck you, and go ahead and try to understand your kid. Because maybe there's some trauma behind that. Maybe there is some trauma that you don't know about. Maybe you're the cause of that. Maybe you need to listen to your kid. There's a lot of reasons why kids end up the way they are. And it's because there's a lack of a father in the home. So all the fathers who have a child who has identified as something else or has just been rebellious in general, how about you sit down and listen to your kid for once? Maybe the problem is you. Alright? So when I see the power taken from the parents, I kind of understand a little bit, but I also don't like it. I don't like that good parents are going to have to suffer because they've done everything that they can to bring up their kid. But I also understand that there are some abusive ass parents out there that need to fucking grow up. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm done. If I keep going, I'm gonna lose my point. Take it as you will. Okay, I have one more story for politics, because I'm not sure if it would fall in between random or politics. We'll just call it politics, because, I don't know. There's just no real category this falls under except for just current news. But we're going to be talking about the New York and, well, the Canadian fires and the smoke sweeping down to New York and basically engulfing the whole city in smoke. New York, June 7th. Schools across the U.S. East Coast canceled outdoor activities, airline traffic slowed, and millions of Americans were urged to stay indoors on Wednesday as smoke from Canadian wildfires drifted south, blanketing cities in thick yellow haze. The U.S. National Weather Service issued air quality alerts for virtually the entire Atlantic seaboard. Health Officials from Vermont and South Carolina and as far west as Ohio and Kansas warned residents that spending time outdoors could cause respiratory problems due to high levels of fine particulates in the atmosphere. I live in Toledo. I'm not sure how far. I would have to look at the smoke traffic from Canada, but here in Toledo we haven't had anything, and it's just, I don't know what parts of Ohio is getting it. That would be interesting to figure out, just to be sure. But it's critical that Americans experiencing dangerous or air pollution, especially those with health conditions, listen to local authorities to protect themselves and their families, President Joe Biden said on Twitter. U.S. private forecasting service AccuWeather said thick haze and soot extending from high elevations to ground level marked the worst outbreak of wildfire smoke to blanket the northeastern U.S. in more than 20 years. New York's famous skyline, usually visible for miles, appeared to vanish in an otherworldly veil of smoke, which some residents said made them feel unwell. It makes breathing difficult, Mohammed Abbas said as he walked down Broadway in Manhattan. I've been scheduled for a road test for driving for my driver's license today, and it was canceled. The smoky air was especially tough on people toiling outdoors, such as Chris Riccardi, owner of Neighbors Envy Landscaping in Roxbury, New Jersey. He said, he said he and his crew were curtailing work hours and wearing masks as they used for heavy pollen. Oh wow. We don't have the luxury to stop working, he said. We want to keep our exposure to smoke to a minimum, but what can you really do about it? Angel Emmanuel Ramirez, 29, fashion stylist and Givenchy outlet in Manhattan, said he and fellow workers began feeling ill and closed up shop early when they realized the smell of smoke was permeating the store. It's so intense, you would think that the wildfire was happening right across the river, not up in Canada, Ramirez said. New York Governor Kathy Hochul, I don't know her name, called the situation an emergency crisis, saying the air pollution index for parts of the state were 8 times above normal. Reduced visibility from the haze forced Federal Aviation Administration to slow air traffic into the New York City area and Philadelphia from elsewhere and East Coast and Upper Midwest, with flight delays averaging about a half hour. Schools up and down the East Coast called off outdoor activities, including sports, field trips, and recesses. Oh my God. I see the picture now. Wow. That's weird. I see the picture of the Brooklyn Bridge. I think that's the Brooklyn Bridge. It's weird because, and that's not even a filter. That's fucking real. Yeah. I'd have to really look at what makes an orange haze like that, because usually smoke, it's usually gray. I would have to really look into that, guys. But a Broadway manatee of Prima Facie was halted after 10 minutes when actress Jodie Comer had difficulty breathing due to poor air quality. The show was restarted with understudy Danny Arlington going on for Comer in the role of Tessa, a production spokesperson said in a statement. I don't really care about fucking actresses right now. Even Major League Baseball was impacted. The New York Yankees and the Philadelphia Phillies both postponed home games and scheduled for Wednesday a National Women's Soccer League match in Harrison, New Jersey was also rescheduled, as was WNBA Women's Basketball game in Brooklyn. In some areas, the air quality index, which measures major pollutants including particulate matter produced by fires, as well as 400, was well above 400, according to Air Now, which sets 100 as unhealthy and 300 as hazardous. At noon, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, I said that right, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, was recording the nation's worst air quality index with an AQI reading of 410. Among major cities, New York had the highest AQI in the world on Wednesday afternoon at 342, about double the index for chronically pollinated cities such as Dubai, which would be 168, and Delhi, which was 164, according to IQ Air. Smoke crossing from Canada. All right. The smoke billowed over the U.S. border from Canada, where hundreds of forest fires have scorched 9.4 million acres and forced 120,000 people from their homes in an unusually early and intense start of the wildfire season. The skies above New York and many other North American cities grew progressively hazier through Wednesday, with an eerie yellowish tinge filtering through the smoky canopy. The air smelled like burning wood. Wildfire smoke has been linked to higher rates of heart attacks, strokes, and increases in emergency room visits for asthma and other respiratory conditions, eye irritation, itchy skin, and rashes, among other problems. The Home Depot store in Manhattan sold out of air purifiers and masks. New York Roadrunners canceled events intended to mark Global Running Day. This is not the day to train for a marathon or to do outside events with your children, New York Mayor Eric Adams advised. If you are older or have heart or breathing problems, or an older adult, you should remain inside. Pedestrians don face masks in numbers that brought to mind the worst days of the coronavirus pandemic. Tyrone Sylvester, 66, played chess in Manhattan's Union Square as he has on most days in 30 years, but wearing a mask. Said he had never seen the city's air quality so bad. When the sun looks like that, he said, pointing to the bronze-like orb visible through the smoky sky, we know something's wrong. This is what global warming looks like. Right. Poor air quality is likely to persist into the weekend, with developing storm system expected to shift the smoke westward across the Great Lakes and deeper south through the Ohio Valley and into the mid-Atlantic region, AccuWeather said. Oh, okay, so when is that supposed to happen? I live near the Great Lakes. Well, I just might experience a little bit of that, guys. But to all my friends in New York and everybody basically in general, I just hope you guys do not be afraid. That's the one thing that I choose to always say to anybody who's going through a crisis right now in the United States. Just please do not be afraid. Just try to be prepared. And Rogue Radio is with you. Always. Alright, love you. It's time for a break. Yeah, because you might want to eat something now, or maybe don't eat yet, depending on your constitution. Is that the word? Because we're going to get into some gross topics towards the end. Next up is random news, and I've got some doozies for y'alls. I don't know where that came from. It's not usually what I say, but we're gonna go with it. Alright, so the first crazy ass story comes from Las Vegas. The Vegas family claims that a craft crashed in their backyard and 9-foot aliens emerged. I believe you. I believe the fuck out of that. I have seen UFOs. I've never seen a Nephilim before. But, yeah. Now, I believe that aliens are just Nephilim. But anyway, yeah, I've seen UFOs before. I believe in you. I believe in your story already. A lot of weird things happen in Las Vegas, but this one takes the cake. Are you sure? Let's see. Back in April 30th, Vegas family claimed that something crashed in their backyard, and what emerged from something was shocking. Or what emerged? That made no sense. What emerged from that something was shocking. Okay, I read things wrong. Take a look below at a video caught on Las Vegas Metro police officer's body cam that seems to show something bright heading toward the ground. Alright, I'll do that later. 8 News Now, a local CBS affiliate, on Wednesday posted this fantastic transcript from when a man called 911 to say there were 2 moving things in his Northwest Valley backyard. So the caller says there's like an 8-foot person beside it and another one is inside. Wait, another one is inside us? What? I need to stop and take a moment. They fucking fucked up on the transcript. There's like an 8-foot person beside it and another one is inside. And it has big eyes and it's looking at us and it's still there, the caller said to the dispatcher. The dispatcher says, okay, where is this on your property? The caller said, in my backyard. I swear to God, it is not a joke. This is actually, we're terrified. Dispatcher says, so there's 2 people, there's 2 subjects in your backyard? Correct. They're very large. They're like 8 foot, 9 feet, 10 foot. They look like aliens to us. Big eyes, have big eyes like I can't explain it, and a big mouth. They're shiny eyes and they're not human. They're like 100% not human. Dispatcher says, okay. Okay, sir. Let me just go ahead and look at the video. Too bad you guys can't see it. It's on Daily Wire if you want to see it. Oh, I can't see it either. Well, anyway, that's the whole thing. Wait, there's another one. Congress should immediately release all info that it has on enact craft on non-human origin. See, I'm gonna have to go ahead and read that one too. Okay, so the next one is all about Congress should immediately release all info it has on intact craft of non-human origin. So, The report was stunning. David Charles Grush, a decorated former combat officer in Afghanistan and a veteran of the National Geospatial, the fuck? I don't know how you fucking say that. Intelligence Agency, the NGA, and the National Reconnaissance Office declared this week that he had given Congress reams of classified information about covert U.S. government programs that he says are now in possession of an intact craft of non-human origin. Grush, 36, would know. He was the Reconnaissance Office representative to the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, the UAP, from 2019 to 2021, and from late 2021 to July 2022. Let's see. He was the NGA's co-lead for UAP analysis and its representative to the task force. The UAP expert said the information was illegally withheld from Congress, and he filed a complaint alleging that he suffered illegal retaliation for his confidential disclosures. Grush said the recoveries of partial fragments through and up the intact vehicles have been made for decades through the present day by the government, its allies, and defense contractors. Analysis has determined that the objects retrieved are of exotic origin, non-human intelligence, whether extraterrestrial or unknown origin, based on the vehicle morphologies and material science testing, the possession of unique atomic arrangements and radiological signatures, he said, the brief reported. That was Monday. Science, then crickets. I am done with how I fucking read this. That was Monday. Since then, crickets. Okay, so no one said anything. We know Congress has the info, but lawmakers are not releasing it, and no one seems to care. See, the thing is that, for one, I don't really believe in the idea of aliens. I do believe that extraterrestrials do exist. I just believe that they're Nephilim, and they call them aliens just to kind of like distract people from the biblical origin of the Nephilim. They're still alive. Gilgamesh is still alive. He's underground. I probably shouldn't have said that. Somebody's testimony has actually said that. It's real. He's still alive. Anyway, ain't nobody gonna listen to me from the government. Like, watch. Somebody from the government's gonna knock on my door. Like, how the fuck do you know who Gilgamesh is, and how the fuck do you know he's still alive? Listen, bro. He's still alive. The same biblical giant is still alive. Either that or it's his son. I don't know what the fuck's going on. This fucked up country. Alright. Of course, reports of unidentified flying objects, or UFOs, have nearly always drawn scorn. Some pilots don't report on them because they'll be labeled a nutball. That's such a funny word, a nutball. You could have said it any other way, but you had to call it a nutball. That's funny. But in 2020, the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, the SSCI, sought an official report on the UAP from the intelligence community. What they found was stunning. The SSCI's preliminary assessment in June 2021 identified 144 military UAP encounters since 2004. That figure soared to more than 800 military UAP reports by early 2023, with all the reports, Congress established All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO. But despite breakthroughs in government transparency about these insights, there's one the Pentagon and the intelligence community have so far not addressed, and that is whether they have had any direct contact with these objects. Christopher Mellon, a research affiliate with Harvard University's Galileo Project and former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, told Politico. Okay. There are persistent rumors that the U.S. government recovered crash materials from UAP, and even that the government has been working secretly to reverse engineer the technology. Yeah, that's basically what Area 51 does. That's basically what they do. They recover the spacecrafts, they recover any type of specimen of either alien tissue, a whole alien if they're alive, or any type of fragment of any whole or partial UFO spacecrafts. And what they do is they try to get the information from the live subjects that do crash. They do experiments on the tissue, they do experiments on the live subjects or the aliens, and they also try to reverse engineer any type of technology that they can in order to make better aircrafts. I don't know. But that's basically what Area 51 does. That's all it does. I mean, yes, they have aliens running around there, but they're not treated very well. Anyway, Mellon says that the 3 good points as to why the federal government should immediately release everything it has. Point 1, in our democracy, the American people have a right to know the truth of this matter, he says. I have a point 1 for the point 1. Just a reply. The government doesn't give a shit about the people. They're going to keep secrets whenever they want to. And no matter how many times the president has acknowledged that there are aliens or spacecrafts or any type of research that Area 51 or any other fucking sub-genre of the government anywhere, it doesn't matter how many times that has happened, whether anything got leaked or whatever, they still have, like, the greatest secrets in their back pocket. They're only giving you, like, a small morsel for the people to basically feed off of, to keep them going, and to keep them in a cycle of, like, perpetual normality, basically. Like, oh, so that's all that is? Okay, so I can go back to my normal life and not care about what's going on behind the scenes. That's why there's a lot of conspiracy theorists who just don't want to live a mundane life all the time, because they know that there's something bigger out there. They know that there's something bigger that they need to work on, and they need to try to, like, unearth. And that's why a lot of people who are conspiracy theorists, who do get on the right track, disappear as well, because the government doesn't want that to happen. They only give you enough for you to be satisfied, and then they pull back and they close that door again. And if the doors have to be opened again, they're going to find the most least threatening piece of evidence for everybody to feed off of, and then the cycle repeats again. That's just, we're cattle to them. That's basically what it is. So, it doesn't matter. Yes, I do believe that the people should have the right to know what's going on, but the government's not going to give a fuck. They don't care about us. But anyway, point 2. We have a right to know. After all, we paid for it. Any recovered materials belonging to the American people, any secretive government programs that may have existed, were funded by American tax dollars, and as much, any proceeds belong to the taxpayer. That is a good point. That's a very good point, because how many times have we seen or heard of a spacecraft falling into, like, a crop, or falling into, like, a farmland, or even the backyard of a Vegas family? And how many times have has the government decided to go ahead and recover everything, but none of the people who own that land, who are in charge of that land, can't get what has been basically dropped onto their own land and claim it. They're not allowed to claim it, which technically they're allowed to because it's on their land and it's in their possession. Yeah. Anyway, point 3. We're all adults here. We can handle it. Although disclosure would initially frighten and shock many people, polling data reveals that most Americans already believe we are not alone in the universe. True. Further, a high percentage of Americans already believe that the UAP are in fact extraterrestrial crafts. Okay. Our ancestors persevered despite profound fears of the unknown, and so can we. True, but we do have Gen Z who just cry whenever they're offended, so there's that. Can you imagine a Gen Zer getting offended by an alien? You know what? I would pay to see that shit. That'd be funny as hell. Within 24 hours news cycle and supposed news athletes. Excuse me. I lost my place. Okay. The news outlets just flashing from story to story. We ought to pause here on this story. Americans should demand that Congress tell us everything. True, I would like to know everything, to be honest. But to me, I feel like I haven't seen everything. I haven't, researched everything. I don't know everything about conspiracies. But there is a scripture in the Bible that says there's nothing new under the sun. It's in Ecclesiastes. It just means that if it doesn't surprise you, it's probably because your eyes have been opened to everything. Basically, there's just nothing new under the sun. So, when I try to research different conspiracies, I'm just like, well, I already know that. I want something deeper. I want something to actually, sink my teeth into. And sometimes that's not always an option. But then again, there's probably some people that will get frightened or whatever over this, but we're also often busy with silly things that are just part of part of life. But this an intact craft of non-human origin should captivate us all, and we should collectively demand that Congress release it all. Yeah. True. All of it's okay. This one's just so weird. This one's just the weirdest. It's just dumb. It's a dumb weird. It's not an interesting. This is just a dumb weird. A massive dump of pasta in New Jersey sets off a fury of interest and also a fury. Okay. Sadly, it is not unusual for things to be dumped in New Jersey. Really? Wow. But a recent case brought a new twist. Hundreds of pounds of pasta left along a local brook, and a mystery about how, about who did it and why. See, this is what me and my friend Alicia Capiche wants to do. We want to make our own show that just basically goes ahead. It's gonna be called How the Fuck Did It Get There, or just How Did It Get There? Because I see just the most random things in Toledo just set on the side of the road, and I'm just like, how in the world did that get there? Can we go ahead and investigate? Can we have somebody on the field that are interviewing people where the fuck did this pasta come from, man? I would sit and watch that. I would. I'm fucking weird. So I would love to know where the fuck the pasta came from. Oh my god, that's so weird. But workers in Old Bridge Township found 15 wheelbarrow loads of illegal dumped pasta along a creek in a residential neighborhood. Old Bridge Business Administrator Himanshu Shah told NPR. The pasta came in a variety of shapes, from spaghetti to macaroni, mounds of it sitting along a wooded bank of Erisik Brook. Photos from the scene set off a rage of reactions, from pasta puns to bafflement over who would do such a thing and why. But for residents like Nina Jakonswitz, the noodles' unexplained appearance was the last straw. At this point, I do know who did it. Oh, you do know. But this story is not about that. Is there... Ooh, okay, hang on. Did she piss somebody off and they just decided to, like, dump a bunch of pasta near her home? For her, it is not who dumped the pasta, but why. While people fixate on the Pastagate aspect of the story, John Johanchowitz, whatever her name is, the story really is about the fact that in Old Bridge we do not have a bulk garbage pickup. I see. Okay, it has been a point of contention for the entire time I've lived in this town, which was 23 years. That's nasty. Disgusting. Can you imagine, like, the maggots that are eating that shit up? Disgusting. When an environmental activist, a former township council candidate, Jonna Wentz, I don't know her name, posted images of dumped pasta on Facebook a week ago, it set off an uproar of interest and questions. She esteemed the pasta to weigh 300 to 400 pounds. That's how much is in the woods? My initial reaction is exactly what yours was, she said. It was funny and humorous and mortifying. It's funny because it's pasta and not garbage. It's humorous because you could make a lot of jokes. And when I'm horrified, because of course it is a potential contamination for the nearby stream and river. Oh, that's nasty. Was it cooked or raw? It looks like it was cooked, though. But, we're actually having a conversation about this. I'm actually reading a story about this. There have been conflicting reports about whether the pasta was cooked and then dumped, or if it merely grew soft and limp from rainfall. Shah says the city believes several hundred pounds of uncooked pasta was taken out of its packaging and dumped on the ground. It looks like it was only there for a short time, but moisture did start to soften up some of the pasta. Who does that? Like, was it all out of date? Was it expired? Because you could have just, like, fucking threw it out. But then again, they don't have a garbage dump system, do they? Damn, that sucks. They probably did that in protest. I probably would be as petty as that too. Like, just be like, fuck you. I wouldn't. That'd just be strange. They would call me Pasta Karen. I don't know. 2 workers from the city public works department were able to clean up the area in less than an hour. John Kaunkowitz, however you say your name, thanked the city's public works agency for rapid response at what was dubbed Mission Impossible, saying that when the crew removed the pasta, they also cleaned out all the garbage tossed in the basin. But she also urged the township leaders to start offering public trash services. The government's website says residents can contract with private trash companies noting that Old Bridge does not provide sanitation services for household solid waste or bulk items. See, that's stupid. If you have a residential area, they're going to need a trash pickup service. And that area does not provide that. That's just bullshit. See, I understand why someone would do something like that, because that's just gross. But most private firms often charge hundreds of dollars to remove large items like couches and mattresses. John Conkwood said, however you say your name. And the township doesn't have a dump. Some people take to throwing their trash in remote parts of the town, she said. My neighborhood happens to be a pretty remote neighborhood, so it's a common place for dumping. As for the other part of the mystery, the WHO local media outlets cite neighbors who believe that the pasta came from a house that was recently cleared out ahead of being put on the market. A man's mother had died. The reports state leaving her son to clear up the pasta from her pantry. She had 400 pounds of pasta in her pantry? Interesting. The city says the police department was looking into who is responsible for the pasta dump. That is just freaking hilarious. Okay, this one might just be fucking creepy and nuts. So, Arkansas woman pleads not guilty to selling over 20 boxes of stolen human body parts. An Arkansas woman has pleaded not guilty to charges she stole body parts from medical school cadavers and sold them through Facebook for $11,000. What for? Candace Chapman Scott, a 36-year-old former mortuary services worker, is accused of selling 20 boxes of everything from human skin to skulls to a man in Pennsylvania. Okay, according to a federal grand jury indictment unsealed by a Little Rock court on Friday. Scott was charged with 12 counts of mail fraud, wire fraud, and interstate transportation of stolen property. A lawyer representing her did not immediately return a phone call from the NPR requesting comment. According to the court document, Scott worked for the company that offered commercial cremation services. One of their clients was an anatomy lab at the University of Arkansas, which used donated cadavers for medical education and research. After one of the company's scheduled pickup days, she messaged the owner of a Facebook group explaining how she acquired the corpses. Named Oddities, a private Facebook group, contains about 380 members and bills itself as a safe way to shop. There's nothing safe about wanting to buy an $11,000 human head. There's something fucking wrong with you. I follow your page and work, and I love it, Scott wrote to the owner, according to the indictment. Just out of curiosity, would you know anyone in the market for a fully intact embalmed brain? That should be all the evidence that you guys need. Like, the fuck? Why did she plead not guilty? Like, did they find her not guilty? Or what? Scott sent pictures of 2 brains and a heart. The man offered $1,200 via PayPal to Scott and gave pointers on how to ship the 3 organs from him to Enola, Pennsylvania via the U.S. Postal Service. Oh, this is disgusting. Over the course of the next 9 months, Scott proceeded to ship the man an ear, an arm, lungs, livers, kidneys, hands, breasts, penises. Why are you sending him a penis? This is crazy. Penises, fetuses, skin, skulls, and one whole human head. So you could basically make your own goddamn person from everything that she's fucking sent to you. The fuck are you trying to do? You trying to be the next Frankenstein, bro? The next Frankenstein, bitch? This is fucking weird. In exchange, he paid her $10,976 or $975 in 16 separate PayPal transfers each time. Scott returned the rest of the remains cremated to the school. The indictment does not name the buyer, but separate state charges connect the case to Pennsylvania resident Jeremy Lee Pauley, age 40. Jeremy Lee Pauley, you're fucking disgusting. Pauley was charged by a Cumberland County Criminal Court with 4 counts of receiving stolen property, intending to participate in unlawful activity, and abusing a corpse. Pauley's lawyer did not immediately return NPR's request for comment. Police were tipped off by Pauley's purchases in June 2022, according to a press release and according to his arrest. In July, a caller reported finding human organs and human skin resting in 3 to 5 gallon buckets in Pauley's basement. And the press release. What the fuck were you doing? Officials confirmed that the report confiscated all remains and intercepted an addition set of packages containing parts that they were being shipped in Scranton. I want to make a Michael Scott joke, but I'm not going to. Pauley's Facebook page is still selling a human hand and a full set of human ribs, which Pauley says came from France. A website bearing his name describes him as a preservation specialist who works to produce educational tools through the reconditioning retired medical remains. You should get a fucking embalming license, sir, in order for you to not look like a fucking maniac. A spokesperson for the University of Arkansas Medical School told NPR that the school was appalled that anyone would desecrate medical donations for their own gain. Human bodies are an indispensable aid in the education of medical students, said Leslie Welch Taylor. We are extremely respectful of our donors and when they're in our care. Each year, the school holds a ceremony for medical students to honor the deceased donors who helped supplement their education, Taylor says. They partner with local cemeteries who house the ashes or return them to families upon request. Taylor said the FBI is trying to identify which cadavers were impacted, but it's a challenge given the embalming process affects DNA. The school had the cremation company and the cremation company knew nothing of the sales until they were contacted by the FBI last summer, she said. The company fired Scott immediately. Scott is in custody with a bail hearing scheduled for Tuesday. Her trial is set to begin on May 30th. Okay, so, I mean, she pled not guilty, but the fuck? Anyway, on a gross note, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the trenches next time. I am going to puke.